Hi friends, as always I'm super excited to see you here. If you're meeting for the first time, I'm Shankar Pandey and this is the Dr. USP channel. I host videos on media, communication, statistics and research on this channel. To stay updated with the latest on this channel, I urge you to consider subscribing to the channel. Factor analysis is a technique by which we reduce a larger number of variables into fewer number of factors. Let's find out factor analysis in SPSS Explained. There are a number of requirements in factor analysis. One of them is that the number of observations must be at least 10 times the number of variables. For example, if we are dealing with 15 variables, we require at least 150 observations. We'll use the same data set that we've used for our ANOVA and other tests in earlier videos. So this is from a survey of teachers in various Indian cities. So there are a number of scale variables where we found out the time they spent on internet every day, whether they find online teaching to be more interesting, whether they feel that online teaching provides a greater variety of teaching aids, etc. Whether they think that statistics should be an essential part of research method classes, etc. So there are a number of such variables. We want to find out whether we can reduce these 11 or 12 variables into a smaller number of factors. So before we begin with factor analysis, we'll have to do the Cronbach Alpha test. So that's a test of internal consistency. So we go for scale, reliability analysis, and we use these 11 items from our data view. In statistics, we are looking for scale if item is deleted. Keeping other things similar, we just click the correlations inter item, continue, OK, and this is what we get. We're getting the Cronbach Alpha as 0.743 and the number of items as we saw was 11. And the Cronbach Alpha based on standardized items is 0.757. And this is another table which tells us that if we delete some of these items, then the Cronbach Alpha would change. For example, if we delete this item, one major problem of online teaching is lack of high speed internet, etc., then it would be increased to 0.766. But since that's not too much of a change, we are keeping that item for now. So we are now ready to go to the real factor analysis. We go to Analyze, Dimension Reduction, Factor. And we've kept those in 11 variables here. For descriptives, we use univariate descriptives and the initial solution. We can click on most of these things. We'll be requiring the KMO and Bartlett's test of sphericity. We'll click anti-image here, coefficients. So this is all we require here. Continue. Extraction. There are a number of extraction methods here. And there are reasons why all these things are used. For example, the principal component analysis extracts the main component. We can use other methods like maximum likelihood and principal access factoring. So we are using principal access factoring for this analysis. We'll analyze the correlation matrix. We'll have an unrotated factor solution that will also be displayed, and then the rotated one will draw a scree plot. The eigenvalues for the factors should be greater than 1, so that is the default value. We'll put it like that. Continue. There are various forms of rotation, so either we can have none or quantimax. Generally varimax is used. In the options, we can exclude cases pairwise or even replace them with means for missing values. And we are suppressing smaller coefficients. Generally the default is 0.3. So we'll continue. OK. And this is what we get. So this is the descriptive statistics about all the 11 items, their mean, the standard deviation. This is the correlation matrix. It talks about correlation of these factors along on other variables. This is a very important test, and this is a test which will tell us whether it is factorizable or not. So the KMO measure of sampling adequacy we are getting as 0.738, and generally the threshold for this, or for a good value of KMO, is generally 0.7 and above. The Bartlett's test of sphericity is also significant, so that is good news for us. The communalities are also good after extraction, so we'll go ahead with that. And this is very important. This is telling me that factor 1 explains 31% of the total variance. The factor 2 explains another 20%, so together they explain 52%. And in factor 3 there's 11% of variance, and that explains almost 64% of the variance. Now this is important. If we see here, this is the rotated factor matrix. So this is telling me that this item, statistical method, should be an essential part of research methods classes, has a value of 0.818. Knowledge of statistics is important in the present digital age is 0.789. I need to know statistics for data journalism is 0.74, and they're all loading onto the first factor. So we can understand that all these different questions are about statistics. So we can regard this as a measure of statistical attribute. The second factor is more about online teaching. So this is about online classes. Online teaching provides a greater variety of teaching aids, etc. So it is telling me. But there is one slight problem here, because this one, I need to know statistics for quantitative research. It loads onto two different factors. So the same variable loads onto two different factors. So I need to delete that, because we need the variables to load onto one distinct factor. So as we can understand, these variables, they are all loading onto the first factor. They are about some statistical measure, and the second one is loading onto another factor which is about online attributes. So we can go back to dimension reduction factor, and we can remove this last item. I need to know statistics for quantitative research. I need to bring it back, and then I'll do the same test again. So let's see what happens now. As we can see that the KMO is 0.712. It is significant. Another important thing to remember is that the determinant should be positive. So we can see that the determinant is 0.042. So that again is a good indication of the factor analysis going along the right path. Similarly, almost 64% of the variance is explained by just 3 factors. We are interested about the rotated factor, so we can see that these 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all high loadings onto the first factor. This is about statistical methods, and there are no cross loadings, as we can see. So we can say that this particular test of online teaching has 2 major attributes. One is the statistical attribute and the other is the online attribute. We'll not take the third factor because it has only one variable. So this is how we do factor analysis. The important thing would be to name those factors, and that has to be done according to theoretical requirements. So just by seeing this, we can see that online teaching is more interesting, etc., etc. They're all loading onto the second factor. So the factor 2 is about online teaching. So all these 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, they measure the online teaching attribute, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they measure the statistical attributes, and we do not consider the third factor. So instead of those 11 items, we now have just 2 factors to deal with.
Thanks for staying along, friends. As always, it was a delight having you here. I'll be back with another video very soon. Till then, have a great time.